and 40 nights.
Good morning again, guys. Welcome back. So here we are for Tuesday. It's nice to have you here. And once again, we're back into the Lenten challenges. And once again today, I'm going to cover a little bit about the readings for today during Holy Week. And today, the Gospel reading, I forgot to say what it was yesterday. It was John 12, 1 to 11, right? And today, it's going to be John 12, verses 20 to 37. If you want to look it up. But the point is that today's story, just to give you a little preamble about the question I'm about to answer, has to do with Jesus predicting what's about to happen next. Now, first and foremost, he's been talking about what's going to happen to him at the end of his life pretty much the whole time he was out on the go, teaching and healing and doing the things with his disciples anyway. But today, in this very reading, he very specifically says what's going on, because what happens in the reading is a couple of Greeks, which might not mean anything to you, but Greek folk at the time were like philosophers. Well, some were. I mean, some were Roman. Some were soldiers too, and that sort of thing. But anytime you said Greeks, it usually meant in the scripture that it meant people from Greece who usually were important, rich, or educators, kind of philosophers, that sort of thing. So they were teachers, they were professors, kind of a thing. Very smart. So the Greeks came, and as they were approached, they wanted to see Jesus, so they went to Philip, who had associations with Greek folks, and they said, we want to meet Jesus. We want to talk to him. And the reason this is important is what I'm going to talk about today. Why was it such a big deal, and why did Jesus say what he did about, well, my hour has come now, I see, that I got to get ready to die? Why was it that? What was the trigger? Why did that make it so important? So we're going to use the clock again, and oh, hey, we're here almost the same time as yesterday. It's about 4 minutes after 9, so I'm going to do my best to keep it under 2. So recognizing that it's only 4 minutes after 9, okay? Ready? Go. The reason this kind of was a big deal, at least in some of the ways that it's interpreted, is the fact that Jesus recognizes in this moment that people from outside the Hebrew faith, and not just outside of Jerusalem, not just outside his own Israelite people like the Samaritans and that sort of thing, because there were a lot of other people outside the usual who were looking for Jesus and found Jesus. As a matter of fact, a couple of times during his time out and about, there were a few people who came to him from outside of their faith and said, hey, or their culture, and said, hey, can you heal my servant or my child or whatever, because they had enough faith understanding him as a healer that, yes, you can do something because I've heard of you. Well, it's gone so far that it's gone further. Not just the centurions and Romans that lived in and around Jerusalem, or the Samaritans and the other sorts of people that lived around there that were kind of intermixed with some of those people, but it went so far now it's all the way out to the Greeks, and that's a little bit further away again. And so now they're coming all the way, making a travel to see him. It's not as far as the Three Kings at Christmas time, but it's kind of like that. Wise men coming to seek Jesus. It's almost a return to that. And the reason that's so important is because of the fact that people now, even beyond the local, people beyond the normal, people beyond people who were nearby and heard about Jesus, it's expanded, it's grown, it's, not to use a term from today, it's going viral. That's what Jesus is doing. And back in the day before YouTube and stuff like that, that's a big deal. That's word of mouth. That's people just telling other people about it. And that's how big it's gone. So now these philosophers are here saying, hey, we want to hear about Jesus too. Tell us about him. Let me meet him so that we can ask him a few questions about life, the universe, and everything. And he's just there, oh, gee, well, this is it. I've expanded further than I thought I would. And this is one of the signs that I have to die. And that's it. He recognizes that his hour has come because it's no longer, his message is no longer kept only for the chosen few. It's gone so far that it's reached out into the world. And that's a signal that he knows that his message is going to carry on even from this point. At least that's one interpretation. It's also the idea that it was probably foretold. But it goes on then, he talks, and God even says, I have glorified my Son, and this will happen. And it goes on to further express that the crucifixion is coming later the week. But simply put, the big turning point here with the Greeks coming to see Jesus is the fact that his message has gone so far now, and he knows that it's a big deal. He already knew it was a big deal, but now he knows it's moved on beyond his own people. Oh dear, 3 minutes again, I think. Let's go look. So that's where it was. 1, 2. All right, 2.5. 2.5. 2.5, but still a little longer than I hoped. But gee whiz, guys, I'm doing a Bible study in under 2 minutes. Come on. Anyway, so I know nobody asked that question, but I want to talk about it anyway. So that is basically a brief overview, a little interpretation of what the reading for today means, and how Jesus basically was preparing everybody with more news that this was going to happen and he was going to be crucified. And more symbols were coming forward to say this is the time. And he had to deal with that. And it's really hard for him to do. With all that said, folks, stay safe, pray safe, and get ready for round 2.